In telling the story of the religious sect, Fountain of the World, let me start with a commercial airline crash that occurred on July the 12th, 1949 in Chatsworth, California, on a brushy hillside about a mile north of the Chatsworth Reservoir. The plane, shown in this photograph, was a Curtiss C-46. It was on a flight from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Burbank, California. This twin-engine plane had 48 passengers and crew aboard. Of the 48, there were only 13 survivors. Here is a photo of the crash site showing the plane's tail section, left center. One of the surviving passengers of this plane crash was an actress named Karen Marsh. She was the stand-in for Judy Garland in the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz, and had minor roles in other motion pictures. She was 30 years old when this plane accident occurred 74 years ago. She is now 103 and living in Palm Springs, California. She is one of only 2 known actors still alive who appeared in The Wizard of Oz. Karen Marsh will be 104 on April the 6th, 2023. There was a little-known religious sect living on Box Canyon Road just a few hundred yards from where this plane went down, and they were some of the first on the scene of the accident to help survivors. This religious sect wore robes, went barefoot, and the men grew their hair and beards long. The help and kindness this religious group provided, along with their unusual attire, brought them into the national spotlight. This religious group was founded in the mid-1940s by a man named Francis Herman Penkovic. The name of this religious sect was WKFL, Fountain of the World. WKFL was an acronym for Wisdom, Knowledge, Faith, and Love. But the sect is often referred to as the Fountain. In 1956, a second branch of the Fountain was established in Homer, Alaska. Francis Herman Penkovic was born in San Francisco in 1911. He graduated from high school in Elko, Nevada. He married twice and served in the military during World War II. After the war, he adopted the name Krishna Vinta and started his religious sect and attracted followers. Here is a photo of Krishna Vinta in the 1950s. He dictated many aspects of his followers' lives, including who they could marry. Krishna Vinta declared that he was Jesus Christ. He said that he was born 240,000 years ago on a planet called Neophrates, which shared the same orbit around the sun as the Earth that was then uninhabited. He said that the orbit of Neophrates was getting inexorably closer to the sun and was becoming uninhabitable. According to him, a fleet of great rocket ships, each more than a mile long and capable of carrying thousands of people, then set off to colonize the dark planet that would become Earth. Krishna Vinta said that he was born of God and not of man, and said that he had no navel as proof of this divine conception. The planet Neophrates that Krishna Vinta proclaimed he was born on sounds similar to the river on Earth we know as the Euphrates in present-day Iraq. This is probably not a coincidence, as this area is known as the cradle of civilization. Krishna Vinta also prophesied a coming apocalypse, a race war between blacks and whites. The similarities between this apocalypse and the Manson family's helter-skelter are unmistakable. In 1968, Charles Manson and a few of his followers stayed with the Fountain Group for a few days before being asked to leave. It is difficult not to conclude that Manson expanded on the ideas of the Fountain of the World with his helter-skelter. But 10 years before this, in 1958, there were two male members of the Fountain that were excommunicated by Vinta because of their, quote, disloyalty, end quote. But these two men felt that Vinta was sleeping with both of their wives and was misappropriating church funds. These two former members returned to the Fountain a short time later with 20 sticks of dynamite. The two, along with Krishna Vinta and 7 other church members, died in the suicide blast. The Fountain continued on, led by Vinta's wife Ruth, shown here, for a few years, but the Fountain disbanded by the mid-1970s. People's Temple, the Fountain, the Manson Family, Heaven's Gate, the Branch Davidians, all quasi-religious cults that shared many similarities and ended in tragedy. Hello, everybody. It's March the 29th, 2023, and this is the birthday of Krishna Vinta. He would have been 112 years old today if he were alive. What's interesting about the Fountain of the World religious cult is that you could only marry on March 29th. And apparently the marriages were non-sexual. So this is some of the information that I found out. Of course, you know, sometimes you're not positive if the information you have is reliable or not. But I'm on my way now. I'm on Santa Susana Pass. I just turned west onto the Pass Road from Topanga Canyon, and I'm going to go out to the former location of the Fountain of the World Church that's located at 585 Box Canyon Road. So right now I'm on Santa Susana Pass, and about 8/10 of a mile from here is the location of the Spawn Ranch. And the Spawn Ranch was only about 1 mile away from where the Fountain of the World Church is, because as I mentioned earlier, Charles Manson had actually visited the Fountain of the World in 1968 and stayed there for a few days, along with Susan Atkins and a couple of other Manson family members. So the Manson family had heard about this religious sect, apparently, living up in this area, and went to check it out for themselves. So I also mentioned that the Fountain of the World proclaimed that there was going to be an apocalypse, a race war between black and whites. But in the Fountain of the World version of events, Krishna Vinta would become the ruler of the world, whereas in Charles Manson's view of Helter Skelter, he would be the ultimate ruler of the world. So it'll take a few minutes to get there to the Fountain of the World Church location, and we'll be there soon. So here I am at Box Canyon Road. We're going to turn left. And this is a very windy road, and we'll be going up in elevation for a while, and then we'll reach the crest and start coming down. And that's where the former Fountain of the World Church was located. I have a little sticker with me. We're coming up on the location now. You can see this flying pig here. That marks the approximate location where the church property was. It's this whole section that we're looking at here. It was a long ribbon of property. It's everything in front of you here. And it goes all the way down to right about here where I'm going to park my car. So this is the southern end of the Fountain of the World property. There's a little brook or stream that goes by here. And right here where this single-story structure is built is where they had the monastery that was blown to bits in that dynamite explosion that occurred in December 10th of 1958, which took the life of Krishna Vinta and 9 others. And this here in the middle of the screen is one of the original buildings. There's the address on the tree of 585. And this was also church property up here. So this staircase here was the original staircase in front of this building. It's made of flagstone and riverbed stone. Apparently there's 13 steps. And right here in the laying here is the original sign. It used to read, "Ye who enter here, enter in upon holy ground." And you can actually still barely make out the words. Upon, holy, and then ground. And across the street, back in the 1950s, there was a fire department here, but it is no longer in this location. The Curtiss C-46 aircraft involved in the crash on July the 12th, 1949, came to rest right in the green area, right in the middle of the screen. It was not easy to find this location. The sources online were contradictory. One source said that the accident occurred about a mile northeast of the Chatsworth Reservoir, but it occurred northwest of the Chatsworth Reservoir. Also, there's a Mesa Drive out here and a Mesa Road, which can be a little confusing. Yet another source used a satellite mapping service to locate the crash site, or to show you where it was located using an identifier, but that was off by about 500 to 700 feet, and it put the accident not on this hillside, but on another hillside nearby. So it took about 3 hours in order to go through this investigative process to find out where this accident actually occurred. I was able to speak to somebody up here who gave me the telephone number of a resident up here who's lived up here for 60 years, so they may be able to shed a little bit of light on this accident, or perhaps even on the Fountain of the World religious sect. Krishnavinta led a pretty checkered life, especially when he was younger, and I didn't get involved in a lot of that in the making of this video, but you can read all about it. So I hope you enjoyed this story that I brought to you on the Fountain of the World religious sect. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.